think realizing how big of a deal sport is, but yet how little of a deal it is at the same time.
Having that pressure of I have to perform, I have to do this. No, I get to do this is what I kind of tell myself now.
I mean, when you broke my British record? Okay, cool.
Say it, bro.
Ooh, girl, you didn't prepare me for this question.
I know, that's why I want to. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. You are tuned in with Cindy and my sister Tiffany. So today we are doing another collaboration. For those of you who do not know my sister, she was also an Olympic athlete. She has been so successful in her track career, and we're gonna just have a discussion today. We're gonna share about things regarding life after sport, life during sport. We're just gonna have a conversation, and yeah, hopefully it can be helpful for you guys. So let's get into it. All right, so the first question I wanna ask you, sis, is what was one of your most successful races and what did you learn from it?
One of my most successful races, I mean, I had quite a few if we're keeping it real, but one thing that really resonates with me was my European Indoor Championships, where I got bronze and you got silver. But I think that really resonated with me because I was coming off of having my daughter, you were coming off of an Achilles injury, and one massive lesson I learned from that race in particular is the power of just being resilient and the power of bouncing back and the power of kind of defying the odds to get something done.
That was such a special race. I remember that day. It was so cool. I'll insert some photos here, but pretty much it was just like very reminiscent of just both of our stories, like of just literally coming back from, you know, just something that people don't usually come back from. You see people come back from having children, but it's not as common nowadays. I guess it's more common nowadays, you think?
I mean, it's common, but I mean, it doesn't make it any less special.
It was definitely special. And I think for me, that race was just super special because just seeing the joy in both of our hearts at the same time and to be able to do that together was just so dope. I really loved that.
I loved it so much, and I really appreciate the fact that you were able to do it despite some of the haters, I ain't gonna say no names, saying that you would never be the same athlete again and you would never be able to run at that level. Yeah. And you came and proved everybody wrong and proved yourself right.
Yeah, man, it's really crazy. And just even the year before, just like seeing you with Chi-Chi and just how young she was, it was really cool. I would say for me, one of the biggest races stood out for me was Eugene of 2022. I think that was a really big year for me because first of all, it was a personal best, but
when you broke my British record? Okay, cool.
Say it, bro.
She just had to bring that one up, no problem.
But because of that race, I think it just instilled like a confidence in me.
Yes.
Because for so many years I hadn't PB'd and I was just like, I don't know if I can actually be better than I was because of all of the people who told me that it might not be possible. And so it just reminded me like, yeah, you can be better after coming back with something so hard. And it was just really cool to like kind of come full circle and have my first world championship final and also do well in it. It was really special. So.
But you definitely did PB the year before when my husband was coaching you, so don't do that to Jeff. You PB'd the year, yes you did.
You know I did.
But I know what you mean. Still an extremely special moment nonetheless.
It was very special. So yeah, I would say just the power of resilience and coming back from struggles is definitely, I think we can both take away from both of those meets.
Absolutely.
So speaking of resilience, what has resilience looked like for you in sport when you did run and versus now, you know, just as a mother and doing other things? Like, what does that look like for you?
Resilience, man. It's such a simple word, but yet it means so much. So one thing that always comes up is my journey to motherhood. I've talked about it before. I share my testimony to help other people. But essentially, having gone through miscarriages, loss, feelings of hopelessness, so much sadness, and then being able to overcome that, you know, with lots of prayer, my husband and my little support system, to now become a mom of two. I think sport and the disappointments that I experienced in it prepared me to kind of overcome obstacles as a human outside of sport.
Yeah, I would say like watching you during that time, like I just saw a strength in you that was still developed that I don't think could have happened with track. Like obviously track had a lot of hardship and stuff for you, but like that time was so hard for you, I could see that, and just like seeing you come back from that, I think released a lot of pressure when you did come back on the track.
100%.
Because it was like now you're running with like a different purpose.
100%. And I kind of feel, even though we have very different stories, I'm 36, you're 29, and we're in different stages of life, would you say that you coming back instilled a confidence in you and you have a different purpose now as you're running?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, before I was running track, just kind of like, I don't know if fear is the right word, but with fear, almost like, okay, if I don't run well, then this is gonna happen, and all these other things where I got hurt for years, or a year, and I was like, I can't do this right now, so what am I gonna do in my life? And I kind of realized that track is not everything, and that was the thing that I think was a problem for me. And so now that I can just like, kind of run without that fear, and like just knowing like, you know, you've been through so much that was difficult, I know I can do more now on the track, and I think I wouldn't have had that had I not gone through the injury.
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about my strength, but sis, your strength was absolutely remarkable. I was literally with her shooting in the gym, you guys. From, unfortunately, the moment the injury happened.
You were literally in the race.
Yeah, running next to you, seeing that frustration, tears, sadness, to then overcoming that, going on to the Olympics, going on to world championships, breaking British records, becoming British champion, so many things you were able to do despite that.
Yeah,
it really is encouraging. So I think like kind of going off of that, one lesson I took from it is encouraging the next generation to never give up.
Yes, that's huge. Because, like, I mean, if both of us just kind of gave up in those situations, like, we wouldn't be here today. In different scenarios, obviously.
Right.
Like, you could have given up in your scenario, and then I could have given up. So, I honestly think, like, you have to just keep pushing no matter what you're going through, and it's easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah.
But you have to just continue to remind yourself of the bigger picture, and, like, tell yourself that you can get through anything.
Yeah. So now that obviously I've retired, I've been to 3 Olympics, you're training for your 3rd Olympic Games. Can you kind of tell us what the mindset is going into this year?
Yeah, that's a really good one. So kind of touching back on what I said earlier about fear. Every other year I kind of have like this fear of like, okay, is this going to happen, or am I going to, I always had so much pressure. That's more of what I'm trying to say, is I had a lot of pressure on myself, and going into this year, I'm releasing that. That is something I'm not doing anymore. It's just having that pressure of I have to perform, I have to do this. No, I get to do this is what I kind of tell myself now. And so I think just for me and also other athletes, like, it's important to remember this is a gift. This is something we should be enjoying and have fun with. We shouldn't put so much pressure on ourselves. And I know going into the fact that I've been training forever for this, I'm prepared, and I know I will be prepared once the time does come. I would say that's the biggest thing. It's just not being so scared of like what the outcome is going to be, but just having fun in the process of it.
100%. And you said something that really just touched me. You said you had almost like a perspective shift instead of I have to do this versus I get to do this.
I think we forget that.
We forget that, and that's true even now in retirement. As a mom, you know, it's a lot. I have a 7-month-old and a 4.5-year-old. They're in 2 different stages. They want a lot, and motherhood can be kind of hectic. It's beautiful chaos, as I like to call it.
I like that.
But I definitely had to like stop myself sometimes when I get like start complaining or not appreciating this stage that I am, that I desperately pray for, and just realize, yo, Tiffany, this is a huge privilege to be a mother. You definitely pray for this. And this is not something that you have to do, but something that you get to do.
Yes, because not everybody gets this opportunity. Like in track and field, but also motherhood.
Yes.
And so I think it's just so easy to take it for granted. Like, yeah, we have to make sure we keep that in perspective daily. And I think that's just been such a difference for me. And I have so much more joy going into practice with that mindset of like, I get to do this. I was hurt once and I couldn't do this, and now I can. Let's have fun and not put pressure on ourselves. So I think that's the biggest thing. 100%. Yeah, so my next question for you is, what is one thing you would want your younger self to know if you could go back and tell yourself?
This kind of pulls me back to another video I did, 20 things they don't tell you about sports retirement. And honestly, I mean, it's not necessarily even track, well, it's track related. I think realizing how big of a deal sport is, but yet how little of a deal it is at the same time. So let me explain. I mean, obviously when you're in it, you are training for your Olympics, blood, sweat, tears, you are out there focused on a goal because you know that it's a very short amount of time that you have this opportunity. But once you do step away from it, you realize that it was an incredible moment in your life and it was such a fantastic experience, but it's not life or death.
Yes.
I think sometimes we place so much stock into things of this world or into, you know, exterior pressures that we sometimes lose sight of what's truly important in life. So I obviously, as an old wise auntie on the other side of retirement, I just want to encourage you to just enjoy this moment, sis. You're gonna look up and be like, yo, was I ever really an athlete? Because it happened so fast.
That's huge. I mean, it's a good reminder for us as athletes, because we put so much effort into it, and we should. I mean, that's our job, right? But at the same time, it's like we shouldn't take it too seriously in a sense, to the fact where like it's all of who we are. And that's kind of the thing I kind of would share to my younger self, kind of going back to what I said earlier, is your identity is not in your sport. Like, we have to remember that we are more than just athletes. Yes, it's a big deal, and yes, that's, you know, what we do, but it's not who we are, despite whether the results are good or they're bad. I mean, like, sometimes we can get in our high horse when it's like, oh, we're doing so well, therefore I'm great in life, versus when it's going bad, you take it personally. It's just like, no, this is a job, and everybody has good and bad days. And I think that's like the biggest lesson, is your identity is not in your sport, and definitely don't put it so high above everything else that nothing else matters. I think is the biggest thing. So as a mother of 2 now, and just, you know, a pharmacist and all the cool things that you're doing, how has sport prepared you for life right now?
sport, oh man, there are so many intangibles that you gain from being an athlete. And one of the first things that comes to my mind is the ability to perform under pressure. Because, yeah, I mean, I do wear a lot of hats, and, you know, being a mom, you know, business owner, creator, content creator, blogger, all the things, real estate investor, wife, sister, it's a lot. So I just think remembering that I was built for this. Like, you as an athlete, as you know, you run in front of thousands of people, and you are putting a lot of stock into one 12-second race. And I mean, it can be a little pressure inducing, but being an athlete and being able to do that, it makes everything else kind of pale in comparison when you're outside of sport. So that's one huge lesson that I'm taking into, you know, now into retirement. And I mean, would you agree as a current athlete?
Yeah, I absolutely would. I think there's just so much stuff that we can learn as athletes, like the pressure you have to deal with, and just like be able to multitask in different ways. And there's just so many things that I think personally I can take it to my next life, or not next life, wow. Sorry. Take it to my next job when I'm done with track and whatever that is, you know? And the lessons I'm learning now in track are teaching me things that, like, when bad things happen outside of track, I can just be like, oh, well, I've dealt with hard before. I know what this feels like. So I know I can take this into the situation. And yeah, I mean, I'm not quite where she is right now when it comes to my life being done with track completely, but I can definitely see it having a huge impact on what I'm, you know, other things in my life. I'm actually a certified teacher, and so knowing that, you know, that is something I can do when I'm done, I know that whatever I'm learning here, I can translate that into my teaching, or even though I'm educating on YouTube or educating the next generation in coaching, whatever that is. Just, there's so many lessons I can take away from track when it comes to the way I eat, or the lessons I learn with sleep, and I can take that into that. So that's definitely something I can apply to my life.
You mentioned eating, diet, and exercise. That is one huge intangible that you don't even realize that you gain from being an athlete when you are in retirement.
That's huge,
because now, yes, I'm no longer training to be like in tip-top shape for an athlete, but I know how to get in shape and how to, you know, eat healthy and exercise and get your body right and use food as fuel to kind of just get you wherever you need to go. So right now I'm currently trying to shed back down to my pre-pregnancy weight. I think I've lost like 50 pounds. I have like 10 more to go.
Hey, but that's great, okay? Her baby is 7 months old, okay? Look at this girl. She looks good.
Oh, you're so kind, sis. I'm going to take the compliment. Thank you very much. But yeah, I think that's another intangible from sport that we sometimes don't necessarily realize, is that you definitely know how to exercise, how to eat right, and use your food for fuel.
Right. So much of what we do in sport when it comes to nutrition and just our actual lifestyles is going to affect us next stage of life. And I definitely am so grateful for just having this ability to do all that.
So being that I am retired now, I would like to ask you, as a current athlete, Olympic athlete, professional athlete who's been killing it, by the way. Just look her up, y'all. Go ahead to her page and check her out. What advice would you give to the next generation? I know you're still into it, but I mean, you can inspire the generation while you're still competing, obviously.
Absolutely. No, that's really good. Let's see, that's a good question. Hard work is key. I know it's very cliche, but I mean, your work ethic is going to make a huge, huge difference. I didn't realize this. And going back to the injury we discussed earlier, I found myself having to work harder than I did when I was in college because I had to come back from it. And so there were so many little things with physical therapy and just strengthening muscles and like just being patient in that process that had I not had it, I don't think I'd have the work ethic I have now. And so it instilled something in me that shows like, hey, if you really pay attention to those small details, it adds up. And I think that's how I set a new personal best in a couple of years afterwards, and how I've been able to feel the strongest I've ever been because I set personal best in the weight room. And so just don't sleep on your work ethic. Like, it really does make a big difference. And yeah, the little things add up, and eventually you'll look up and be like, wow, it actually paid off.
100%. One of my favorite quotes that I live by is, I don't even know if it's a quote, I'm gonna make it a quote, that hard work will take you places where motivation can't carry you.
Or talent can't take you to. I heard that.
Oh, well, yeah, I kind of added my own spice on it. But yeah, like, honestly, some days you're not gonna feel motivated. Some days you ain't gonna feel like getting up and homeschooling your daughter when she wants to color and play and do this and do that. But you get it done, right?
Absolutely.
You make it happen because you have your priorities and you know what's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my last question for you is, how would you define greatness?
Ooh, girl, you didn't prepare me for this question.
I know.
Okay, how would I define greatness? Oh my goodness. I think greatness is putting your best foot forward.
That's good.
Living life with integrity. Inspiring and pulling up others as you come. Yeah.
That's really good. No,
Yeah.
honestly, that's really, really
because
good.
I mean, it's one thing to be out there and be successful and to be killing it in your arena, but how are you making your circle, your sphere of influence better because of your presence? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, girl, that was good. But now I gotta ask you, because I'm sure you didn't think about your answer. So how would you define greatness, sister?
Let's see. How would I define greatness? I would say living each day with purpose. We are all called to do something, and I think just kind of going through the motions every day is not what we're meant to do. We need to be intentional. We need to have purpose, and that doesn't always mean that you're breaking world records or you're, you know, doing something so large. You can do something small by just helping somebody out, like one of your friends or your parents or whatever that is, but just living each day with purpose, because one, we don't know when the last day is, right?
Yes.
And two, you just don't have any regrets in life.
Yeah.
So just knowing that everything you're doing is going to have some type of outcome.
Yes.
And reminding yourself that you have an intention here and God has a plan for you, and just keeping that at the forefront of your mind.
100%. Now, you preach, girl, because that was good.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tiffany. I hope this encouraged you guys, and if you guys like this content, definitely go subscribe to my sister's page. It is what?
Tiff Ophelia Porter.
Yes, and Tiff Ophelia and all her other platforms
Yes.
as well. Yes, and hopefully we can do one together in the future.
Yes, thank you for having me, boo.
Yes, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.